Hi everyone, welcome to the Bookover where we talk about books, especially those ones that give us book hangovers. I'm Sarah and with me is
Megan.
And today we're talking about the book Corrupt by Penelope Douglas. Yay.
Yay.
Spoiler alert, if you haven't read the book, we're talking about the book, all of the book. So if you don't want spoilers, don't listen until you read the book. There we go.
'Tis the season. This is a great book for the season.
Yes. Happy Halloween.
Yes.
One of the reasons I picked this one for this day. Devil's Day and all that jazz.
Yeah.
So
I really enjoyed. I like that aspect at the beginning.
I definitely loved this book, a lot of scenes in the book, and I love the Devil's Day part of it and the havoc the mayhem that they do throughout their Devil's Day celebration. And what I think Megan and I were just talking about it, and so I'm trying to think of how to get this in the conversation, so I'll just say it. With Corrupt, I feel like Corrupt is what made Penelope Douglas. It set her, when it came out, I really believe that this is what turned her into her genre of her type of book and writing. It's like if I hear the word, hear her name, Penelope Douglas, like Corrupt, Punk 57. Those are like the first books that pop into my head that, and they have a different, they're dark.
Yeah.
And they're emotional. Some of them are taboo. Like Birthday Girl, which I haven't read yet.
I still need to read that as well.
Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely, I feel like this collection is probably, in my mind, in my opinion, I think this is what made her who she is.
Well, and this was my first time reading Corrupt. I know that you've read it before. But I like looking at the date, I was shocked to see that it was 2015, because when I'm thinking about 2015 books versus today books, this is like a book that I would think would come out, now. But 2015, I'm thinking, wow, how innovative this book must have been. From like the steam room scene to, just the darkness of the plot, the enemies to lovers, I really appreciate this book for how innovative it must have been for its time. I mean, it's still obviously very popular. I have a friend who was telling me that she was excited that we were doing Corrupt because she just bought Corrupt at Barnes and Nobles because of Book Talk. Oh. So like this book is, it's still getting hype. I mean, it's blowing up on Book Talk how many years later? So, I mean, it's very powerful. And I just think that it must be, again, this was new to me. I'd heard of it when I first went into it. I was like, I didn't know the plot. And then I started reading. I'm like, wait a minute, I have heard of this book. I have heard of this plot, because I tried not to read the blurb. And then it came to me like, oh, wait, I did hear about this. So I know it's been around for a while. It's very well talked about. So I think of it as probably kind of an innovator in my mind.
And it was kind of for me too, because it was one of the first dark romances that I read when I started reading, because I started reading when my first daughter was born, and that was in 2015. So it was one of the first.
2015?
I think I read it more in like 2016.
But
still, it was one of the first darker romances. And again, it's like with our age, you're reading it and you're like, I like this, And so I think that's why, like, I was okay with rereading it. I suggested it because I think that's one of the things, and maybe that's why it's popular, because some people out there might pick it up because it's at Barnes and Noble, or they've heard someone talk about it and then they read it and they're like, wow, like this is darker. It's not, a Danielle Steele romance, it's different. It's dark. It's got twists. And I really, really enjoyed that part of it. And that kind of started me down liking these kind of books, for sure.
I think this would be a great introduction to dark romance. I could definitely see that. I mean, this was not my introduction to dark romance, but I can see how this would be a great introduction to it. So I think it's very interesting that we're coming from that perspective, where this was your introduction to dark romance and you read it, years ago, and then I read it, recently. So I think it's cool that we have the different perspectives going on.
Yes. Well, and what I also liked about, because like a lot of times, like I correlate like dark romance of like bully romance, because that those can be dark too. So like what, like this does have bully in it.
It does,
but I don't really see it as bully. I don't know why in my head I don't see it as bully. Maybe it's just because it's different than like high school bullies or college bullies. So for, summary of the book, it's based around Rika. It's the main character girl. She's kind of infatuated with the guy down the street. There's brothers, Michael. Her father dies. She hangs out with that family a lot because her mom's, depressed and not really being a mom anymore. And then there's the friends. Who is it? It's Trevor, Damien, Kai, and Will. It's a big group of guys, but they're older and stuff. And then, Devil's Day happens. She's a good girl. She does what she's supposed to do, but she's in this small town and she's tired of that caged feel. She has people, she has money. She doesn't have to worry about her future, food on the table, but her life isn't perfect. Her dad's dead. Mom's non-existent pretty much. And she's alone. She's alone in the, right now. And she's looking at Michael, who he carries himself differently. All these guys, they walk in and they do what they want. They have this vibe, when they enter a room, you don't even have to see them. And it intrigues her because she wants something more out of life. She doesn't want to be in a gilded cage. She wants to go off and do her thing. And so this book, it's flashbacks, which I love the flashbacks. Yeah. And you get those flashbacks throughout the story, and then the current of her going off to college away from her ex-boyfriend and her family, and she wants to do her own thing and not be depending on people in a way. I mean, Michael has a good point of pointing out all the things that she is still depending on, and it kills her.
Yeah, I like that he does that. Yeah. Well, and also let's point out that her ex-boyfriend is Michael's younger brother.
Yes.
Her ex-boyfriend, Trevor. So that's interesting. I feel like that was kind of a relationship she just kind of gave into. She was like kind of forced into it. It's like, everyone assumes we're dating, might as well date him. And she was kind of trying to escape, yet she goes to the same city that Michael is in.
Right. But I don't know, I had a feeling that she didn't really know. Well, she didn't know he had the apartment or the condo.
No, he didn't. She didn't know that, but he played sports in the city, so she did know. Yeah,
she did know, but I think she really thought that the city was big enough that she wouldn't run into him. Especially,
part of me does wonder, like, did she want to run into him?
I think deep down she did, because throughout the book, there was points where she, like, she was saying she didn't like him doing something, but then deep down she liked it. Yeah. She let it happen.
Yeah, it was Freudian.
Yes. So, and that's, even from the, you start at the beginning, she's in class, the guys walk in with their masks on, she knows exactly who's who. And then her making that decision to sneak away and go with them for Devil's Day, and of course it's the beginning of the book, but like I got a thrill reading that part, because I'm like, okay, what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
And at first you're not sure, because she kind of talks about all the guys, they're handsome, they all have this certain vibe, and so like I wasn't quite sure, I think at the first for sure about Michael, especially after that scene where he obviously did not like her at the party.
I felt like, because I read so much, I was like, that means they're gonna get together. Right. That was telling to me. But again, if this was 2015 and I was new to the genre, I would be like, I wouldn't think that. But because I read so much dark romance, I'm like, oh, yeah, that means they're going to get together.
Yeah, very true. I mean, especially like, how do you say it? The catacombs? Is that how you say it? The catacombs under the church? Yeah. I loved that scene. It, the sex noises and her down there blindfolded and Michael, it's like you could also kind of feel that tension between them. And I think more would have happened if it wasn't for his brother showing up. I do not like his brother. Who does, right? and so that's why I was kind of amazed that she ended up with the brother, because you can even tell that like she doesn't want to go away. Too many people are trying to control her, and Michael's letting her he is controlling her, but he's also letting her explore, but he's
Mm-hmm.
also doing it in a, I'm gonna guide you, help you, but not
Facilitate.
leash you, I felt
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed the flashbacks of Devil's Day, because you slowly get this like relationship of her building with the whole group, where they
Yeah.
start to trust her and stuff, and then she ends up even doing things to save them when
Yeah.
stuff starts, going wrong. And
I love that.
yeah,
The group when the female main character, it's not just the guy, when it's a group of guys. I mean, I think that's why I lean towards like reverse harem a lot, because I like that, I don't know, like the found friendship, found family, and when the girl like gets along with the guys, when she becomes part of like the group.
Yes. And I love that part, and it killed me when that went away.
Yeah. It was there was hard part, like it was hard that with the whole misunderstandings always get me. And it was a great plot twist, but it was hard for me to be like,
it is hard, because, and I do the same thing, I'm like, just like, if someone would just stop and say it, there's so many times she was confused, so confused on why they were mad, and they would say certain things, she's just like, huh, I'm like, well then say, like, I don't, but there was a couple times she's like, I don't understand, and then they're like, yeah, and it's such a guy thing to say.
I know, that's true, that's the thing, guys are that frustrating. Just like, that's the thing, it is realistic in that sense.
It is realistic, but I really liked Michael's POVs.
Me too. I needed those. Yeah.
I needed those a lot, because I got those, how much he like hated her, what she did, that he thought she did to his friends.
Yeah.
But how much he still wanted her. And that I really liked. I loved that, because I could feel that push-pull where he was just fighting himself. And then when he would like, it was hard, like, especially like when they were finally like, get together. And then he's like, and then he has to leave and like move on to the next plot they have. It was hard for him. He knew it was going to destroy her. And I don't think he wanted to destroy her. And I know it killed him with that twist.
He was very torn between his friends and his loyalty and what he thought she did to how his feelings were and his gut. If he would have just trusted his feelings and his gut. But
yeah,
that's not, yeah.
Right. I'm trying to think of, I want to just talk about the twists, really. That's what got me with reading it, because I didn't, I knew that there was a misunderstanding. I knew that I couldn't figure out what it was. I couldn't figure out who was saying what and why they were thinking that she did something. And, and I'm reading these flashbacks. I'm like, when are we going to get there? And then finally we get that scene where she thinks it's Damien, and she thinks, is it Kai or Will's asleep? Will's asleep, and she thinks Kai's with them and Damien. And, and then the whole thing happens where they like try to take her and stuff, and the cell phone falls out of the pocket and all that. So like all that happens, and then you go, oh. So then you're like, okay, so then these three guys. So then when it comes out that it was the brother and Damien, I just love how it all came together, and that twist comes together. And then I love the scene where she's like, they finally listen to each other, and she finally says her story, and it's good, like that fight where they're like, well, how are we going to believe you, and like all this stuff. But I love how it just like it happens. And it did kill me though to see Damien turn so bad and then leave. That really killed me, because I knew they were a close group, and I knew Damien had issues, and so it was really hard for me for that part too, because like I have a thing for the damage too, and I'm totally team Michael, but like I didn't like seeing him go, and then the whole boat thing, seeing him go again and leaving them there. I was like, dude, these are your bros. Like, what are you doing?
It was surprising. You thought that he would kind of have a change of heart. I mean, she was even appealing to him, like, hey, these are your friends, and like, nope. so I liked that twist, that part of the twist a lot. I wonder if the blurb through the years has undergone changes, because again, at first going into it, it was really interesting because I did not know what was going to happen. And then I think during Michael's POV, I was like, wait a second, I have heard of this where there's the mistaken with the police. And then I did look at the blurb, because I'm like, doesn't the blurb say something like this? And it does. And I think it does say Michael's name. So sometimes you have to be careful with the blurb, because sometimes the blurb gives out too many spoilers. So I think it was good that I didn't read the blurb at first, but I went back once I realized. Sorry, that kind of took it the other way there.
It's totally fine. But yeah, it is true. You do have, that's why I'm starting to not really read blurbs anymore, especially if it's a writer that I know I like, which you just have to get to that point where you like trust writers and their process.
Right.
And yeah, but like for this one, I just liked that push-pull, and her even being like, I like Michael. I've always kind of wanted Michael more than his brother and stuff, but then he's so mean to me.
Yeah.
I liked that. I liked it. And then like I told Megan when she didn't read it yet, and I was trying to like talk to her about the book. Yeah. And I was just like, that the epilogue to me makes the book. Like, yes, the book's good. The flashbacks, the POVs, love it, the twist, but the epilogue, and it's not, it's the second. Is there 2 epilogues? I can't remember. Sorry, I read it a little bit longer ago than Megan. But so, the end, they're together. Micah. Hey, that's their relationship name. Rika and Michael are together. They get engaged. Yay! I love that they're gonna that chapel is gonna be their home. But then to get his epilogue that is years before the story even starts, him picking her up at school, her dad just died, he's already having feelings for her, and and she's said before in the book that she's had feelings for him for a while, but life and age difference and things. And I just, the part of the dog getting hit by the car crushes me, but him in the cemetery with her and her talking to him and basically telling him, because at that point in his life, he's trying to be what his dad wants. He's trying to do what is being asked of him. He's like her earlier in the book, he's being told, he's caged. He's being told who to be, how to act, what to do.
Well said.
And then all of a sudden, she's the one that goes, pretty much, do what you want to do. Be you, and I just,
it was one epilogue, so it was the end, and then it was Michael was
so chapter 29 was the end, and then or 30.
That's what I thought. Yes, but
that's what I love. And then that last part where he's like, she corrupted me, so she's always thinking Michael corrupted her, he's gonna corrupt her. There's that reference throughout the book kind of, and then to find out that when years ago, before this even all started, she's the one that got in his head and was like, no, you do what you want to do, you be who you want to be, stop trying to conform to everybody else, stop being miserable. And so then the whole book changed for me, because I was like, that's what he was doing the whole book. Even the first Devil's Day, he was trying to help corrupt her. You don't have to be Miss Goody Goody Two Shoes. You don't have to be the perfect student, the perfect daughter, the perfect friend. And I think that's part of his frustration with her. All of a sudden, a lot more light showed up with him being frustrated with her on things, mad at her for, driving that car and taking and doing certain things, because he's like, she's the one that changed him, and then he had to go back and change her. But I love that. I love that she doesn't even realize that one conversation changed his life, and then he
It's full circle. And when you told me about the epilogue, I was not expecting that. Like, so I'm like waiting for the epilogue, and I'm like, okay, what's it going to be? What's it going to be? So I have like all these predictions, and at that, I did not at all see that coming. So it did not disappoint at all. I totally agree with you on the epilogue, and I honestly couldn't say it any better. It's so well said. Mm-hmm. How you just said that very well. So true.
Well, I love the epilogue.
I feel like you could write a paper on it, like seriously, about how, like, throughout.
Yeah, I should take some college courses just so I can somebody give me just to write papers on my books. Deep discussions about it's just I love that. I love it when a book's even last sentence of a book can change the whole story. You spend, and this isn't a short book. This is a longer book.
It is a longer book, yes.
And you read it and it's good, and you're feeling these things, you're witnessing these things, and you get this idea in your head, even during the last chapter where everything's tied up into a nice bow, mostly. And then you get this like fast forward and you're like, holy. I love that. I don't know why.
I agree with that. We didn't get to what I just wanted to mention, that steamy scene, the
steamy scene in the steam room.
The steamy scene. Get it? Do you think that was done intentionally? So for that pun?
I don't know. All I was just thinking about is how, Amazon's not going to let me review it saying there's a great steamy scene.
I know. We just talked about how evidently you're not allowed to use the word steamy anymore on Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon's not posting my reviews if I say a novel or a book was steamy. So.
And like, what's next? Are they going to take spicy away? What can you say? It was, I don't even know. It
was good.
It was good. It had.
Well, we're like, what we're gonna have to start
when
saying
a man and a woman.
It's a one-hand book. That's what we're gonna have to start saying. It's a one-hand book.
It's a one-hand. I just feel like they're gonna. Hopefully, it's a one-hand book. I like that. It's a one-hand book.
They're gonna just catch on though, and soon we're just gonna be like 5 stars. Contact me for review.
Basically, and because Amazon is owned by Goodreads, who knows what you.
It doesn't bother. They don't get upset over Goodreads.
They don't. I guess because Amazon, it's more to the public. I mean, you even have to go through sensitivity filters. Like, I remember when I first started reviewing it, I'm like, what do you mean sensitivity filter? And I had to figure out how to like make my profile like public and all this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But it's even Facebook, it's happening with there's a lot of censorship right now on Amazon, on Facebook.
Everything.
It's getting worse. I don't know if it's algorithms and bots or what it is, but it's kind of upsetting.
Yes.
But anyways, that scene,
yes,
I loved it. I think you probably knew I was gonna love it.
I knew you were gonna love that steam room scene, and the first time I read it, I wasn't a big fan of it, but again, that was the start of me reading these kinds of books. So when she was with Kai, I didn't like that. I thought it was really weird to me. And now, now that I read Reverse Harem and stuff, yeah. I'm like, but just the fact that it was sex, but it was more of a healing thing. It was her forgiving him forgiving himself.
Which I loved. It was kind of beautiful in that way, I thought. It was just different. I don't think it was done for shock value. Right. I think it meant something to the story. Mm-hmm. And the fact, again, I keep going back to the date of it, but I think it's so important to say that, like, I feel like Reverse Harem really came, the early days, I feel like was like 2017 for Reverse Harem of it actually becoming a thing. Mm-hmm. And then 18, 19, I feel like 19 is when it really blew up. So I just feel like it was just very ahead of its time and just being open to doing something like that. Mm-hmm. But also I feel like it was done with intention, and I don't want to, we're going to talk about Credence at some point. I just want to bring Credence up real quick just because of Penelope Douglas and I think this is giving us a little peek into how something like Credence gets made by her, like how she has an open mind.
She has a very open mind, and I love that. She's okay with the taboo.
Yes.
And you know, I hear things like, "Oh, this is a taboo romance," and then now I read it and I'm like, is it really taboo? Because to me,
like
it just doesn't bother me. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, how is the ex-boyfriend brother? I guess in the real world that would be something, but in book world we're like, it's not even a stepbrother. We're good.
Well, and we've seen those things, and I can't eloquently say it, but I've seen posts where people say, you know, the difference, because some, you know, we as a community of liking dark romances, smuts, RH, taboo books,
indie
are sometimes looked down on, you know, or can be attacked by other people who don't understand it. But what some people, and I'm going to probably say it wrong, but I've seen posts where they say the difference is like, this is, I don't want to say entertainment, but this is an entertainment. We know this isn't
real life.
Fantasy. We're not going to run out, like, you know, if it's a violent book, we're not going to run out and join a cartel and do all this stuff. It's just like watching a movie to us. You know, it's not saying that this is okay that this happened. We're not okay with this scene or that scene, but it's still, you know, one of my favorite movies is Derailed, and it has like Jennifer Aniston in it, and I forgot the other guy, but
is it Clive Owen?
Huh?
Is it Clive Owen
in
it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And there's that fake rape scene, and it turns my stomach, and there's twists and turns in there. But I love it. Do I like rape? No. No, it turned my stomach. But that movie is so good because it brought out emotions, and then the twists in it and stuff. Like, it's one of my, I don't watch it because it turns my stomach, but it is one of my top favorite movies. And that's the same thing with like books, right? So it's like, and what I like about Penelope is like, she's open to it. You know, it is, book reading to me is an entertainment. It opens up emotions for me, experiences I'm never going to experience. Like, I'm happily married. I'm not going to run off and, you know, do some of these things with somebody else. You know, it opens these things up to us. It experiences languages, places, feelings, you know, so it's just like that. So, and that's why I like Penelope Douglas. I like that she does it. And, you know, and then you see pictures of her, and she just looks so like sweet to me. You know, I'm like, she just seems like I want to like go have coffee with her, or like drink with her, or just sit and talk to her for 10 minutes. Yeah. Like, you know, just hang out and just like, cause you know, like she hikes and things. And I'm like, let's go camping. Let's just go camping for a weekend, that. You know? I love it. And she's good at what she does.
Yeah.
She's good on this book.
And to speak on what you're saying about like in culture about how things are looked down on. I just wanted to kind of elaborate on that because I agree with that with like, you know, kink shaming, for example. People think if you like something in a book, you like it in real life, like you were saying. And like, it's like if you're watching a movie about drug addicts, it doesn't mean you're going to go do drugs. I think, you know, there's the whole like fantasy. People have dark fantasies. It doesn't mean that they want that in real life. Like not that Penelope Douglas had, like, but you know, like the dub con, all these different types of things. I think it does get looked down upon.
Right.
There's something to it about it being, you know, getting a safe space to explore is the independent book world. I think that's what's so important about these kinds of books where you don't have publishers breathing down your neck saying, you can't do that. You can't have that in a book. I think that these books are really opening people up to get to explore things that maybe they didn't even know they liked, to not feel so alone in liking them. So I just, since you brought that up, I know it's not to do with Penelope Douglas, especially not just yet. I mean, when we get to Credence, which, because we did read Credence, we are going to talk about it. We'll talk more about some taboo stuff. But I just wanted to bring that up because I thought what you said was really well said. And I just wanted to kind of bring up the whole kink shaming element.
Right.
So, yeah. I'm so glad that we have the community of people that are understanding, and that this book, like I said, I think this book has really paved the way, and I can just see where, you know, she started to where she's at. when it comes to writing. And I really want to read some of these other books I have not read from her yet, like the rest of, I hear about Damon's story, and I've heard, he's redeemed.
I haven't read it, and I really want to know. I want to know how he gets redeemed. It's very intriguing to me.
Yeah.
Even, but Damon, even Will, I feel like Will's not in this as much, but he isn't a great guy. He's, Kai's in this a lot more, I feel like, to me. And maybe I paid attention more to Kai. But like, I'm really intrigued by Will too. I would really like to see all their stories, and I will be reading them once I have a chance to
have that TBR. We just have that big
TBR. Yeah. And with this one, Penelope just posted on Instagram a thing about Corrupt and how it took her, I think she said like 18 months to write it, from like dreaming it up, writing it, revising it, and getting it out there. It was like an 18-month journey. And, it for a long time was like her top seller until like spring this year, 2021, where Punk 57 like went off and she's still like baffled about how much love we're giving these books of hers, and I think she said Punk 57 was like 9 months or 3 months. It was like half the time. So yeah, but it's just like interesting. Like I love, like, just from the start of her career, how long it was, like, took her to make this book baby that we're all loving so much, and then like another one, less time, and I'm really, I love her writing. I haven't read as much of her, but I plan on, because I feel like
a lot of people are just discovering her too. It's very interesting how, like, Corrupt, again, I'm harping on the fact that it was put out so long ago, but it was put out, a fair amount of time ago, and it's still blowing up on Book Talk. It's in Barnes and Nobles. It's, it's very interesting how, and I'm sure if she is baffled by it, I would be baffled by it too. It's like, oh, a book I put out for this long and it's doing this well now. Like, I think that's awesome.
I think it's great. And it just to prove, there's just like, even in art world, all over the place, you have something, you start out and like, no one sees it or it doesn't do well, but years later, all of a sudden it's a famous painting or a top seller book, or it's
or music. That happens a lot with music too. Like people won't hear a record and then all of a sudden it becomes huge.
Yeah, exactly.
So
anyways,
yeah.
I thought Corrupt was a good one. It's a good start. Anyone's interested in that whole Devil's Night series. And then I definitely recommend it for October. Just, I like to read stuff that goes around with like the seasons. For sure. But, read it whenever. But I think everyone who is ready for something a little dark. I mean, there's that one scene in the entertainment room with Michael and her where he's like, kind of like, she's talking to his mom on the phone. And like he's in her and I don't know, I loved that.
I am there with you. I agree.
Okay, so before we end, here are the book. I had to like think about it a little bit, and I kind of decided to go with something that kind of goes with this series but it's different. There's a book called Nevermore, and it's by Ren Montgomery. It's another MF, but it's interesting. It's kind of there's a mystery behind it, and then a one night stand turning into like a relationship kind of thing, and stuff. It's on the darker side because of the mystery and some of like the things that are happening in there, but it's a good book. I think it's a good one that would complement this one, but it would be a good way to, if this one gives you a Bookover, I think it would be a good way to move on from it.
To hop off that Bookover train.
Yeah.
For me, it's after this, I just finished this book, so I don't know what I'm going to do. That's where I'm at. Okay. I just finished this book. I'm like, what am I going to read next? So maybe I'll try. Well, we have a list You have a list. I will say a good spooky season read. I'll give you that. I'll give you a good maybe I'll actually revisit that for Halloween. I love this. It's totally unrelated. It's just a good spooky season. It's the Ariel Kimber series. It's a witch series, and there's like no other supernatural creatures. It's just witches, and it's great for the spooky season. So
I like this. I like stuff like that.
Yeah. It's a really good. It's a slow burn PNR. Reverse hair.
Perfect for Megan. I love it. I love it. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. And I hope you enjoyed our talk about Corrupt. Have a great October Halloween. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.